So we have with us today Edwin John. Thank you very much for joining us and for coming to talk to us about your work with the Community Neighborhood Network and with the Children's Parliaments. So some of the questions we'd like to ask you today tie back to the theme of the Commission for Social Development, which is social integration, and also specifically about the vision of the Community Neighborhood Network and the work surrounding Children's Parliaments. So let's begin. Maybe you can tell me how you became involved or began working with the concept of the neighborhood community networks.
Well, that would take quite a lot of time. That's the real story, the big question, how I began.
Okay. So maybe begin and we'll see where we go.
If you have time, I have
That's
no
okay.
problem talking.
Okay.
You see, those good old days while I was a student, there was a book from here, from America, and a movement from here. It was called Christopher's Movement.
Okay.
And there used to be one James Keller. He wrote that book, You Too Can Change the World. And the focus at the moment was every individual can make a contribution. Mm-hmm. And the slogan at the moment, it's better to light a candle than to curse darkness. Mm-hmm. So he was getting people to realize that they all have a role to play and they too have the power in them to affect changes in the world. Mm-hmm. And I used to be interested in that, getting people to do something to change the world. Mm-hmm. And then I used to study a lot on this motivational psychology, how to get people involved and commit themselves. As I was doing like that, I got to know the power of the groups. And there was, I think, in late 1960s, there were books like, Groups Alive, Church Alive, Power. Mm-hmm. But then the group dynamics was emerging as a science. Mm-hmm. And then I got interested in groups. Mm-hmm. And then, but my main interest was in the mass media. Okay. So I was studying journalism. I went from India to the Philippines to study journalism there. And there, while I was there, something that changed my shift of emphasis is on the studies on the effects of mass media. Okay. There was one Joseph Clapper. This man was trying to put together the various conclusions of the various researches done all over the world with regard to the efficacy of mass media. Mm. And he came to that conclusion. His conclusion was, the media help more to reinforce than to change. Mm. And then if at all they change, it is more in the realm of minor attitudinal changes and not in the realm of well-established attitudinal changes. Mm-hmm. And so, if you want somebody to say, to change completely a kind of a conversion like that, media is not the one to be dependent upon entirely. Then there were again studies on where the media is more effective and where the media is less effective. And where the media is more effective, in extensive level it is more effective. That means, information, nothing like it to reach. Then creating a kind of awareness on it, creating certain kind of interest in it. So like this, extensive level more, and as it comes down, to the level of decision making, implementation, follow up, and all these things. This effect of the media comes down and down. And there something else takes over. That is the realm of interpersonal relationships. Okay. So how do we combine the effect of the mass media extensive effect of the multiplicity and the intensive effect of the interpersonal relationships. So one of the things suggested those days was, kind of small groups, form them in thousands. And then like the concept behind farmers, radio clubs and so on. Have groups, then give them message. The groups are there to interact, to get to one another, to get over the various internal filters the fellow has got, and then to withstand the various pressures against change. Then their interpersonal relationship comes and helps. So that's in the groups. Then extensionally the media comes to feed them with the matters for discussion, information, ideas and so on. A kind of combined effect would be better. That's the idea. And then I was just thinking on that. At that time I came to know about the Latin American basic Christian communities.
Okay.
What they did in Latin America, the big parishes formed into small neighborhood communities called base communities. And basic ecclesial Christian communities they call like that. The idea is small sized forums. And then the wider forum like a parish becomes the coming together, a communion of communities like that.
Okay.
So there I also, that kind of networking is very important. Because they can come together thousands of groups. They need to be federated if they have to be a force, a decisive force. Then that was very appealing to me. And why was a parish then in one parish? Then I tried to start this in the parish in 1977. And then now within these 30 years, it has become the normal thing in all the parishes, more or so to say, in India, all the dioceses in India. This parish becomes a community, a communion of small neighborhood-based communities. And then I said this cannot remain merely at the church level. And then if you want a new world, it's not through the church people alone we are going to our work. We have to work with all people of goodwill. So how do we do that? How do we involve them all in the process of change? Then I said, why not we have neighborhood communities instead of where people of all religions, whoever there is in the neighborhood, come together. So territorially organized neighborhood communities. Why not we go for that? And then I evolved the concept of neighborhood communities and then started working for that. Neighborhood communities about 30 families each. And then later I thought, and I know, why not we stress this political dimension a little more, because I could see the immense political possibilities of that neighborhood concept and its federations, multi-tier federations. Then I said, it's good to get people think on that. So why not we call it neighborhood parliaments? So parliaments, the word was a very convenient word because parlare is to talk. And parliament is only a talking forum. And people are the ones supposed to rule, and they are coming together, sitting in a talking forum to see what would be their priorities and what should be their decision. That's the beginnings of what we call rule by people.
Did this appeal to them? The change in the name, was it appealing?
Gradually, more and more people are taking it seriously. Because as I see, good many people are disillusioned with the present structures of government. They say every time we speak for a change and something worse happens, what is the real problem? We want a corruption-free government, accountable government. It happens somewhat, but in other ways it goes backwards also. We want a just world through these democratic structures, but it's not always a just and equal world that is emerging, world of equality that's emerging. These things also lead to high inequalities. What could be the reason? People have been getting disillusioned and searching. And when I suggest this neighborhood parliament concept, they say maybe there is, they say there's a point like. And good many are taking it seriously. I have been giving the concert at various groups, social workers groups, universities and various places. And they are more and more saying, okay, that's possible. And that way we evolved a new dream. And the dream is one of a multi-tier global federation of neighborhood parliaments of about 30 families each, territorially organized. And then for this neighborhood parliaments and their federations, we gave some guiding principles. One principle we said, you should principle of smallness of size.
So you limit the number of families.
That means, we say, the bigger a foreign gets to be, the more it becomes the game of the big voices. And the small voices don't have the reach. So they go unheard, unattended to, more or less voiceless.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a system now where by having basic constituencies big, we ensure systemically that poor people don't have any voice except once in 5 years or 4 years or so on a token basis to choose between two
Larger
candidates
voices, yeah.
over whose selection anyway the people didn't have any say. Some two power structures decide and the people have to choose between, so to say, between the devil and the deep sea like that. And that becomes the democracy without much content to the choice. Now if people really do have their say, their problems will be addressed. So we want to ensure that the last and the least person has constantly a say. And what is the way? We say make the forum small, both at the neighborhood and at every other level. If it is a global federation, even the global parliament need only to be a small face-to-face community, because by having too many people, you are not having a wiser decision. Okay. But if it is well federated, everybody could feel that their voice is heard, and still a few people could manage one. And then our own Mahatma Gandhi, of India, and he used to say, one cannot go on fooling a face-to-face community for long. So smallness ensures that nobody stands behind anybody else, hides behind anybody else. Everybody is answerable, accountable, and the situation becomes transparent. One. Then second principle we gave, it should be, federation should be in a numerically uniform pattern.
Okay.
That means, once you have so many neighborhood, so many houses, you have the first level parliament, neighborhood parliaments. Once you have so many first level parliament, second level parliament, everything according to a number pattern means.
Okay.
If the whole world gets organized this way, it will be a new pattern entirely. There will not be scope for bigger districts, smaller districts, bigger states, smaller state, bigger nation, smaller station, and everybody will belong equally, and feel that everybody is placed at an equally advantageous distance from decision-making centers. That would mean that when everybody feels that equally why do they fight for a boundary war like that? Fight a boundary war for a bigger nation, smaller nation, be here, our nation, your nation, need not be. Okay. And then another thing, we say the third principle, subsidiarity. Subsidiarity means, suppose this is main level, this becomes subsidiary. Next level, this becomes main, this becomes subsidiary. So principle of subsidiarity is whatever can be done at any subsidiary level, don't take it to any higher level. And higher levels are to deal with only those matters that no lower level can handle. That means if you have that principle, consultations, participation, importance, dynamism, everything, action, everything at the lowest levels possible. Then everybody feels that he is somebody, not a non-person. Somebody else decides somebody else's world, we have nothing to do. No.
Very good. ఇప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తారు చేతులు ఇప్పుడు గ్రూప్ లీడర్ రాసుకుంటారు. ఎందుకంటే నాకు మీరు రాసుకున్నది అన్నీ కూడా లాస్ట్లో నాకు ఇవ్వాలా మీరు. నేను దాన్ని తీసుకెళ్ళి రవిజీకి ఇస్తా. రవిజీ చెప్పారు అన్నీ తీసుకురా నేను చూడాలా. ఆయన చాలా బాధ్యతాయుతంగా ఉన్నారు. అక్కడున్నా కూడా ఇక్కడ బాగా జరగాల క్లాస్ అని అక్కడి నుంచినే ఆయన ఇచ్చేస్తున్నారు. సో మీరేం చేస్తారు, ఇప్పుడు పొద్దున్నే క్లాస్ ఏం విన్నారు? నేను అన్నిటికీ ఎవరి పార్టీలో కదా బాధ్యతాయుతంగా ఉండి ఏమేమి గొప్ప పనులు చేస్తారు అనేది రాసినారు కదా. ఇప్పుడు మధ్యాహ్నం మీకు ఒక గంటన్నర సేపు ఇంటర్వ్యూలు ఇచ్చాం కదా. ఇంటర్వ్యూలు ఇచ్చినప్పుడు మీరు బాధ్యతాయుతంగా ఏం పని చేసినారు? ఈ గంటన్నర లోపల మీరు కొన్ని పనులు చేసినారా లేదా? దాన్ని మీరేం చేస్తారంటే మీ ఫ్రెండ్స్తో పంచుకుంటారు. పంచుకుంటే లీడర్ ఉన్నారు కదా, లీడరు రాసుకొని తర్వాత నేను ఇక్కడికి పిలిచినప్పుడు మీరు వచ్చి చెప్తారు. తర్వాత లాస్ట్లో మీరేం చేస్తారంటే దాన్ని తీసుకొచ్చి నాకు ఆ పేపర్ని ఇచ్చేసి వెళ్తారు ఇంటికి వెళ్ళమని. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు పంచుకోండి. అర్థమైంది కదా? ఈ గంటన్నర లోపల మీరు బాధ్యతాయుతంగా చేసిన పనులు.
Everybody must feel that he is an important person. He is a person of worth, a person to be counted, and that kind of a world is possible if we have this subsidiarity principle through this neighborhood parliaments.
Yeah.
And then we say the fourth principle. This is since the neighbor parliaments, since the parliaments at every level are face-to-face small communities, every level. So at any time, when any level feels that the person they elected from one level to the next is not exactly performing according to their expectations, then what they can come together and then decide to call back that fellow. So each level can call back the representative they elected from their level to the next. That means ultimately the entire global system remains answerable to the man at the base, and he controls, and if he controls, his problems will be addressed. Especially his basic needs like food, the water, and then what, and then education, everything, all these things, and then his sense of
sense of agency and being able to
sense of being fairly treated. All these things, will be taken into account. Okay. So that became the fourth principle we gave. Then we went on to the fifth principle. The fifth principle is subsidiarity. This is, I confuse. The fifth principle is convergence.
Okay.
That has to do more with the dynamics of building a power structure from below. That means we ask normally, how long will it take for a structure like this to be organized? For example, to organize neighbor parliaments throughout the world, neighborhood parliament, first level. How long will it take? Then people give various answers. We say, in principle, only one day. Because the whole world is only neighborhood. Okay. And for organizing the neighborhood, you don't need to take a bus and go. All you have to clap hands, come together like that. Okay. And then the world is so connected today as regards communications. You can take your cell phone, the other end of the world says, you say hello, the other end of the world says hello in reply. Okay. And then if somebody, important message is there, immediately it is known. So, if we have in India, for example, pulse polio drops, that on a particular day, on 2 particular days, every year the mothers bring their children for this pulse polio drops.
Okay.
You could organize the entire nation to come to this pulse polio drop booths at a particular hour. So organizable. So what I say, maybe if Edwin thinks it may not happen in one night, single day, but if right people with the right access decide on it, it is no problem reaching the whole world with the message and say, come on, you get together, organize your neighbors.
Yeah.
But what I say, what is even more difficult, what could be a more sustained process, is one of getting these communities feel that they are one cohesive collective unit. To feel that no, we as a group are one. That can a group identity, a sense of collective identity, a sense of collective ego. That has to come.
And how is that accomplished?
How is that to come?
Yeah.
If that comes, no other power will be able to bypass that. You see, we started this in our villages there in Kanyakumari district. Those villages used to have chieftains, they used to be fighting for supremacy. And this fight leads also to quarrels, violence, bloodsheds and court cases and so on.
Yeah.
And then we started this neighborhood structures there. And in no time, what happened in the last 20 years, what I see, those chieftain structures are gone.
What are they replaced by?
With the representatives from the neighborhoods.
Okay.
Since these were getting some kind of an identity, they said, why not you consulted, why not one from each of these groups to be the collective body that decides for the village? Finished. So a silent structural change, because the collective identity was being reinforced. Now how to get these people developed? That is the first question. The best thing is to get them to do things together. Give them things to do together. And so when you give things to do, come on, you prepare for a function or prepare for a worship assembly or whatever, then it gives them a chance. Oh, we have this week we have to prepare, and so we have to do this. So they say, who are all the ones involved? Who are all the ones whose cooperation we could get? Who is outside? Who is inside? Who is a non-member? Who is a member? This becomes clear.
Yeah.
That identity gets reinforced. So we say, if you are, once you organize neighborhood parliaments and once you federate them, whatever you do it through these structures.
Okay.
So if it is small savings, do it there. If it is lending, do it there. Any other banking business, do it there.
Okay.
Any income generation, do it there. Any environmental project, do it there. Any old age care, do it through that. Any child care project, do it through that. Any health education scheme, do it through that. Any monetary scheme, do it through that. When you keep doing like that, they become more and more a cohesive unit. And once they are sufficiently reinforced as regards collective identity, every other structure has to adjust to that. So first thing is to keep reinforcing this structure.
Identity. Yeah.
These were the 5 principles we gave. And so then we used to give these principles in seminars and so on, and ask them, suppose a world comes about like this, what kind of a world will that be, ask. And they say, we send them for group discussions. And they come back with a big list of answers. Name any ideal you want, they say it will be realized. Name any so evil that you want to get eradicated, they say it can be done. It will be there, then it will be the list. Then I asked them, then what kind of a world would be? Third question. They say it will be a paradise on earth. Then I said, then why don't you go for that?
Yeah. Let's build it.
Okay. So the present day democracy, what we find, they try to tell people that everybody is equal, everybody has equal vote, but they make the basic participatory constituencies very big. So very big means they cannot meet together, they cannot discuss together, they cannot evolve any consensus, and then they become nobody's people, so to say, with no voice, because no forum to talk.
Yeah.
When there are no forums, they cannot talk.
Yeah.
When they cannot talk, they cannot have their say. When they cannot have their say, they are powerless in anything. And one of the root problems affecting the world today, we used to ask that in the groups. We asked them, what are the two root problems affecting the world today? They will come back and say, two root problems. One, they say selfishness. The other problem, helplessness. Because those who are powerful are selfish, I'm generalizing, okay, and then those who are selfless are powerless. Then situations don't change.
Yeah.
So here, how do you ensure that people remain powerful?
And what does that power mean?
Power
You are
for us,
redefining power.
we have our own way of defining power.
Yeah.
We say power is to have an effective say.
To have an effective say.
You say something and it matters. That means you have power.
So you are heard.
You are heard.
You are heard.
You are taken serious. I mean, you have an ability to influence the course of events,
Okay.
situations. That means power.
Okay.
And then we say, if to have an effective say, the minimum thing you need to have a say is to have a forum. At least one person should listen to you. Then you have a forum. And then if you want people to participate, give them forums. When they come for a given forum, they come together, they talk, they discuss, and they evolve consensus, they become articulate, and they know what to demand and what not to demand. And when they are federated, it becomes, big, wider level power. And that way it goes on. And ultimately, who is really interested in people, if not people themselves? And if people are given power, they solve the problem.
How does a system like that address differences or conflict? If conflicts arise at the level of neighborhood, or there are differences of opinion, how do those become?
Yeah, that's a good question. And before answering that, I will say something else. Okay. I just ask people in meetings, suppose somebody gives someone else a slap, what would happen? People say he would get back. Then I say, not sure. He will hit back if only he feels powerful enough to hit back. Otherwise, he will withhold. He will fume from within, get sick, and all that will happen, but no reaction. And then, if he is powerful, you don't need to go and really tell him, come on, your rights are now violated, your dignity is insulted, and now you have to react. You don't need to have a conscientization, awareness, and a sensitization program that much. And if someone is really powerless, no amount of conscientization program, are going to help. So ultimately it has to do with one of power. And that power has to be on a sustained basis and accessible to everybody and to people at large. And then people will solve the problems. That's the basis. Now with regard to this question, we use various techniques. One thing, when they come together, sit around, gradually they develop a kind of a process or a kind of mentality whereby they are able to listen, talk, and so on. Okay. Now, 2 or 3 things we tried. Then with regard to issues at wider level, within one group and the other, the federal structures can take into that. So when 2 families have problems, the neighborhood structure can look into that. When 2 neighborhoods have problems, the federal structure can look into that. Like this, there's one structural provision is there. In addition to that, we are also trying to involve processes like non-violent communication.
Okay.
There has been a process. Then lately, another interesting thing we came across, which also we are now trying to integrate here, is sociocratic elections. Sociocracy.
Okay.
See, I was circulating this dream. Then
Mhm.
somebody wrote, two people wrote back to me, have you heard about sociocracy? Then I went hunting for it. And it's a very interesting thing, more or less similar principles. What was striking for there, no, the principle is one, ruled by consent. And consent, they differentiate between consensus and consent.
Okay.
And then consensus, they seem a bit difficult to get because people are different thinking. But you get it, consent, no objection. Though I may not be fully for it, but I can tolerate, not beyond my tolerance level. This kind of a system, ruled by consent. Then another principle, there are also principle of smaller circles. Then they call double linking. That is one from here is there, other one from there is here, like that, double linking. Then sociocratic elections seem to be the very interesting thing that we try to introduce there. And our neighborhood parliaments are gradually adapting to that. Here is a kind of an election where nobody stands as a candidate, no election campaign, no secrecy. But they come together and then they are told, okay, this is the task. What is the what is that task involved? Everybody is asked. And then they explain what does involve, what are the challenges. Then to shoulder this task, what should be the qualities, capacities, mental attitudes expected in the person? Everybody says, explains. And then everybody is given a paper. Come on now, put down your own name first. So everybody who is proposing or voting has to write one's own name, proposing. And then secondly, they say write the name of the person whom we are proposing. Then they take the ballots together and heaped under the various names proposed. Then everyone is asked, you are proposing so and so, what are your reasons? So everybody has to give the reasons.
So it's public.
Public. And then after everybody explains the facilities, now individually thinking you thought somebody would be good, but now you have listened to so many, maybe you want to change your opinion, then you are welcome to take your slip of paper and put that for somebody. And before he puts that for somebody, he has to explain why he is changing his opinion.
Very open.
Very open. Then the one of the facilitators, okay, so and so seems to be the person. Anybody has any serious objection? And if anybody has a serious objection that is argued, then everybody else takes into account. So that way, no oppression. Everybody is valued. That kind of a culture can grow.
And how do you, when you say oppression, how do you understand that to be?
You see, oppression means, in every democracy, there is a kind of an inbuilt violence.
Sorry, a what?
Inbuilt violence,
Inbuilt
systemic violence.
Okay.
That means if you have to continue in power, you will have to suppress the minority. So unless you keep suppressing, you cannot remain in power. So you tend to be negative, violent, and so on. But here it is not like that. That's one of the reasons why he says. And this kind of democracy normally leads to corruption. Because when the structures are that big, you have to somehow become big. And if you have to big, especially in terms of money, you'll have to somehow collect money. And so whatever means you take gets tolerated, because at the end when you are powerful, the power matters and nothing else. And so a kind of worship for money, individualism is created by this structure. And then what does also, you see, once, to to keep being in power and to keep getting the awards, you need to do a lot of image building.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to build a lot of visibility and a kind of a brand like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you invest such a lot of money on that, energy on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get old, you think, after investing this much, whom am I bequeathing this to?
Mm-hmm.
And you think in terms of your own son as the successor.
Mm-hmm.
So in most of the dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
in most of the democratic structures, dynasty becomes a kind of inevitable process.
Mm.
Okay. So and so as minister, his son is minister, this one is like that. So, okay.
Yeah.
So this kind of, all these problems can be solved when you have a neighborhood based
Yeah.
governance system from below. And when it comes to that, much of the things that we fight for could be achieved.
Yeah.
But the very system of it, that's the dream you project. And then, okay, we are working on that. Then we start, as a process towards it, we started working on children's parliaments.
Mm-hmm.
We organize children into parliaments of about 30 families each. Children in any neighborhood, 30 families, they of about 30 families, they come together.
Mm-hmm.
And children of 6 to 18 years old, children 16 to 18 years
Yeah.
age, they come together, and then they become the parliament. Time up? Okay.
Maybe 5 more minutes.
Only that.
We're both going to an event soon,
Okay.
so we have to.
Okay, she have told me that. Okay.
No, but
Children's
so
parliament. Okay.
no, definitely finish the
Uh-huh.
telling us about the children's parliament
Okay, yeah.
vision, and then
Okay. And now
How
this
is it
children
going?
parliament, these children come together, and then they elect among themselves a neighborhood neighborhood prime minister, child prime minister,
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood ministers, child ministers for health, for environment, for justice, for child rights monitoring,
Mm-hmm.
like this, whatever issues, whatever concerns you have a minister there.
Yeah.
And you also have deputy ministers.
And tell us also where the children are coming from, because I remember you mentioned they are coming from from the untouchable caste.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself is
Yeah.
turning
And
a
then
trend.
normally we find these parliaments getting more acceptability among the poor and the oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
And for them, it becomes a forum to come together, forum to get empowered, to grow more as more confident personalities,
Mm-hmm.
more articulate,
Mhm.
and develop their leadership traits and so on. This is happening very much.
Mm-hmm.
And these children's neighborhood parliaments, they get federated at village level, then next inter-village level, block level, district level, state level.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a state parliament of children.
Mm-hmm.
We call it Tamil Nadu Pondicherry State Parliament of Children.
Yeah.
And those children won last year's, that's year 2009, global award for the best child-led organization for child rights action.
Wow.
That is, they call it UNICEF San Marino Alexander Bodini Global Award.
Wow.
We got that. And then these children's parliaments are being started in various places. In some 23 states of India, we have started these children's parliaments.
Mm-hmm.
And then small measures, beginning measures. We also started them in the countries of Malawi and Tanzania.
Mm-hmm.
They are getting started like that. And then when children come to these places, they try to see what the problems of the neighborhood are.
Mm-hmm.
What we say, these children's parliaments are not the type of mock parliaments in the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Mock parliaments, they come together, have a drill like that, show, and then once they are out of the session, they are nobodies.
Mm-hmm.
But here, in the neighborhood parliaments, even when they are not in session, they are ministers.
Mm-hmm.
They are in charge. They have a territory to be in charge,
Mm-hmm.
a governance area to be responsible. So for the neighborhood, we are in charge of this neighborhood. For the village farm, we are in charge of this village. Like this,
Yeah.
children feel responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And each of these ministers, since they are given a ministership, they are very serious about it. They go hunt for materials related to that, get to know what are the issues involved, consult people,
Mm-hmm.
and come back and speak as very confident, knowledgeable ministers.
Yeah.
And that way it initiates them think about wider issues.
Mm-hmm.
And these children, they go through a process what they call the PLA, Participatory Learning Action,
Okay.
with techniques like resource mapping, Venn diagram for prioritizing the problems
Mm-hmm.
and needs, and then wealth ranking, and then various other things. And then they identify the main issues, evolve short-term and long-term goals,
Mm-hmm.
and make short-term and long-term plans,
Yeah.
and then whatever they can do by themselves, they themselves do.
Yeah.
Whatever they cannot do, they take it to the parliaments or the other structures of the grown-ups.
Yeah.
So they go and or give a memorandum to the local civil governance unit. We call it panchayat in our place.
Mm-hmm.
And they go and meet the district collector,
Mm-hmm.
and they go and meet even the state ministers.
Mm.
And then when these children go, they feel helpless and happy. And then what happens? The problems that remained unsolved in the villages, needs that remained unmet, get solved and met because of the children's parliaments.
Mm.
Children have been instrumental in bringing new roads, new bus routes, new schools in some places, and the new facilities at daycare, child daycare centers. And then they have brought dropout children back to school, even got some bonded children redeemed.
Yeah.
And all these things they try to do. And in one village, for example, called Kovalam, the children were involved in this, took responsibility for the cleanliness of the village.
Mm.
And then that village got the award, got the presidential award.
Yeah.
That means award from the President of India for that as a clean village life. And then in one village, children initiated the step to bring an access bridge.
Mm-hmm.
This is in our place, 45 lakhs, that means 0.45 million.
Mm-hmm.
45 means 0.4 million. 4.5 million. 4.5 million rupees. That means it will be about $100,000, like that,
Yeah.
That kind of, children get done.
I think it's an amazing reminder of the capacities that are there if we raise them up.
Yeah.
And if we work to develop them. And most of us, I think the wider society doesn't see children in that way. And so this is a reminder of what they can do. There's so much more to talk about, but now that we both have to attend an event that's coming, I want to thank you.
If time is over, then I cannot talk.
But I want to thank you
I didn't
so
know
much.
that you had a time limit. Otherwise, I would have adjusted the talk accordingly.
Well, maybe we can continue another time.
Another time, But whatever I spoke is also good, and though it is not exactly on
it's excellent,
children's
and I think,
parliaments.
but it's you related it all to the theme of the Commission on social integration, and you've given us an example that we want to share. So we appreciate your time.
That's good. Good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was so interested in this first exam, and I just let you talk because I think it's fascinating.
Which one?
The way you talk about the federated networks, and this is also an area where the Baha'is are working, but it's interesting to see a whole other initiative with very similar principles and what you're able to do. and how you're able to raise it up across all
Yeah, yeah.
different levels.
And I would like to have a copy of it,
Absolutely.
even not only the finished product,
The
but
raw.
also the raw ones. Because
Yeah, is that
it will
hard
be
to do?
useful.
We to email, or how do we?
This file,
Yeah. Or we post it on,
we can post it on YouTube or we can email it.
is email?
Yeah, if you
Yes.
can email, then I'm
Absolutely.
good.
So
I
you
don't know
have-
if it is possible. Otherwise, if
We will get it to you.
Otherwise, we could get a pen flash drive or something and get it copied.
Maybe we can do this.
Yeah. But you're
That's
leaving
better.
today,
Today, this evening, yeah.
so
You are
the
going
only
out
way.
somewhere, no? That's the
I
problem.
think today, I think it's not possible.
No, do
No.
one thing. You send it to, Fatima, no? Sister
No.
Fatima?
You don't. The one who gave me her cell phone number?
Yeah. You know her, no? She's
I-
here.
Just know her a little bit.
Tahira knows her.
Yeah.
And she is one of the, NGO representatives here.
Yeah.
Tahira knows her. If you give it her, she will mail it to me.
Give it to her.
Or you could
Or
mail
we
it to me
can
straight.
mail it
Yes.
to me. You will give. Can you write down
I
your
just
name?
give my card. Okay.